In a journey through the darkest depths of human history, we uncover the untold evil that lay hidden within the concentration camps of World War II. This is the harrowing tale of how ordinary women became instruments of terror as they served as female guards in the concentration camps. In the year 1944, during a big war, there was a job ad in a German newspaper. It looked like a normal job offer, but it was hiding something very bad. It said, "We need healthy young women between 20 and 40 years old for a military place. You'll get good pay, a place to stay, food, and clothes." This ad tricked a lot of women. The ad sounded like a good deal, especially for young women who didn't have a lot of money. They came from families who didn't have much and also didn't have many choices for good jobs, so working at this place seemed better than other jobs like working in a factory. But here's the tricky part. The clothes they promised were actually SS uniforms, the same uniforms worn by the bad people in charge. And the military place they talked about was really a horrible concentration camp called Ravensbrück. It was a place where many people suffered and died. A lot of these young women believed in what the leader of Germany, Hitler, was saying. They thought they were helping their country by working at these camps. They didn't know the terrible things that they would later be a part of. So this fact shows how some women were tricked into working at these awful places, thinking they were doing something good. Little did they know, they were about to become part of something very, very bad. Now let's talk about where these young women ended up, especially those who went to Ravensbrück. Ravensbrück wasn't like any other scary places you might imagine. It was hidden in a quiet spot about 50 miles north of Berlin. These charming houses were where the female guards lived. Some of them even had their kids with them. From their balconies, they could see a peaceful forest and a beautiful lake. It seemed like a dream life for them. One of the guards once said, "It was the most beautiful time of my life, but if they looked out of their bedrooms, they could also see prisoners working like slaves and the chimneys of the gas chamber where terrible things happened." So even though their homes looked like a fairy tale, they were living right next to the nightmare of the concentration camp. This fact showed how strange and frightening it was that these guards had such a beautiful place to live while they did such terrible things. Let's take a closer look at the lives of these female guards. They had a way of making their everyday life seem completely normal, like the lives of regular people. If you saw pictures of them from that time, you might see them smiling while sipping coffee or laughing together on walks in the nearby forest with their dogs. They looked like any young women having a good time with their friends. These scenes might seem innocent at first, like moments you'd share with your own friends. But if you looked closely, you'd notice something different about their clothes. They wore uniforms with a strange symbol, the SS insignia, which meant they were part of a group that did terrible things in the concentration camps. These guards pretended to have normal lives, but they were anything but ordinary. They were part of a system that caused immense pain and suffering. This fact reminds us that sometimes, even when things seem normal on the surface, there can be something very wrong hidden beneath it all. Here's something important to know. All the women who became guards in these awful places started their journey in Ravensbrück. This place was the biggest concentration camp just for women in Nazi Germany. Imagine over 3,500 women coming to Ravensbrück to learn how to be guards. They went through training here, and then many of them went to even worse places like Auschwitz, Birkenau, and Bergen-Belsen. So Ravensbrück was like a school for them to learn how to do very bad things. Now let's talk about what these female guards did to the prisoners. Survivors like Selma van de Pera tell us that these women were really mean. They had power over the prisoners, which meant they could do whatever they wanted to them. They beat up the prisoners, they tortured them, and some even killed them. Can you imagine that? Some of these guards were so nasty that the prisoners gave them nicknames like Bloody Brigitte and Revolver Anna. It shows us how much fear and pain these guards caused to the people in the camps. Out of all the women who did terrible things in the concentration camps, only very small number, just 77, had to go to court after the war. One of them was Irma Greza, who the newspapers called the beautiful beast because she did such cruel things. Here's the surprising part. Many of these guards acted like they didn't know what was happening or that they were just helping out. After the war, in West Germany where they lived, they were allowed to disappear into the crowd. It was like they got away with what they did. Some of these women, like Hertha Bota, were very stubborn. Even though they were shown proof that they did terrible things, they still said they did nothing wrong. Hertha Bota, who did very bad things herself, never said sorry until she died. She even tried to say she had no choice but to work in the concentration camp, which wasn't true at all. Now let's talk about what we can learn from all of this. Selma van de Pera, who went through the terrible things these guards did to her, tells us something very important. She says that regular people can do really bad things if the situation is right. It's a warning for us today because it means that bad things can happen anywhere if we're not careful. We should always remember this lesson from the past. Now let's talk about how these female guards have been shown in books and movies. Sometimes in movies, they're made to look like victims who were forced to do bad things. Other times, they were shown as really mean and scary people. But here's what's important. The truth is much scarier than what we see in movies. These guards were not special monsters or helpless victims. They were regular women who chose to do terrible things. That's what makes this part of history even scarier. Ravensbrück was a very big concentration camp, and it held more than 120,000 women from different parts of Europe. Some were there because they fought against the Nazis, some because they had different political ideas, and others simply because of who they were: Jews, lesbians, sex workers, or homeless women. But the sad part is at least 30,000 of these women didn't survive. They went through very hard times in the camp, and many of them were treated very badly by the female guards. It's a reminder of how cruel people can be to each other. As we think about this dark part of history, we should remember the faces of the women who did bad things as guards. These weren't monsters with scary faces. They looked like ordinary people, but they did extraordinarily evil things. These female guards remind us how low people can go when they let hate and cruelty take over them. It's up to us to make sure that such terrible things never happen again. We must remember the past and learn from it so that we can make the world a better place. In looking back at one of the darkest times in history, we've uncovered 11 unsettling facts about how female guards controlled the concentration camps. These women, who seemed just like regular folks, turned into agents of unimaginable cruelty. Their stories serve as a powerful reminder of how easily humanity can be swayed towards darkness. These chilling facts show us that even ordinary people can do terrible things if they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's a lesson that should stay with us forever. We must work to prevent such awful things from happening again and ensure that history's darkest hours are never repeated. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget to leave a comment down below and let us know what you thought about this topic. See you next time, and bye for now.